So climate change, we've heard a lot of stuff in the media from climate skeptics casting doubt on the science. The reality is the science is as rock solid as ever. This year we've seen global emissions reaching the highest level on record. We've seen record warming over the past couple of years, and we are in danger of going off the cliff edge. We're running out of time to stop this spiralling out of control. The international climate talks are the best chance we have to do that, because this is a global problem. It needs a global solution.
The UN climate talks happen every year, and it's where all of the countries in the world come to one space at one time to try to find a political agreement to the climate crisis.
So if we agree a global deal to tackle climate change properly, as we should, this is the place where it happens. So this is where both the detailed work of lots of technocrats and civil servants sitting down together to craft something that will actually work in practice, they do that, and then the ministers come in and say, yes, politically we can all agree to this together.
The biggest single issue is what happens to the Kyoto Protocol.
So the Kyoto Protocol is literally the only legally binding treaty that we have in existence at the moment, and that is a binding obligation on rich developed countries to agree to emissions reductions year on year that are legally verified. Now that first commitment period ends next year, and Durban is the pivotal moment when there will have to be an agreement. Either we move to a second commitment period of Kyoto Protocol, or the Kyoto Protocol dies and we see an unravelling of the only legally binding treaty, and fundamentally also possibly an unravelling of the whole UN Convention on Climate Change as well. That's probably the biggest fight.
I think perhaps some of the other areas where we could see some progress is in the area of climate finance. So countries basically agree, so an agreement to mobilise new sources of money, basically of revenues for climate action in developing countries.
We need an agreement to get $100 billion a year. We've got the promise. We haven't got the agreement of where that money is actually going to come from. And last year they agreed they would set up a green climate fund to channel it through. So this year we want progress on that. How's that fund actually going to work? Is it going to deliver the money that poor people need in a way that poor communities have a say in, and that poor countries have a say in? And is it going to do that efficiently and quickly? And there's some good work that could be done there that we're hoping for these talks at Durban.
On the big issues, I think there's a good chance of saving the Kyoto Protocol. A lot of countries won't be in it, but they will save the basics of it, I think. And there's a fair chance of a mandate. I mean, other things will happen too. So there's loads of other stuff which is going forward, which is building on what was agreed last year. Stuff on adaptation, perhaps on finance, which sort of continues and has a life of its own. There'll be more stuff on reducing emissions from deforestation. And yeah, they have a little life of their own and tend to carry on outside the big mitigation debate, you know, reducing emissions stuff.
Having a few positive outcomes that signal that the process is still moving, because I think there's a lot of public and media concern over the UN talks. So, for example, having a positive outcome on the establishment of a Green Climate Fund, or movement towards mobilising finance, but also kind of a signal from developed countries that they're still committed to a long-term legally binding deal on emissions reductions.
Without a climate spring, we will never get the kind of global agreement that's needed to tackle climate change. Really, the fundamental issue is not the lack of policy papers, it's not the lack of scientific research, it's not the lack of technical reports showing how possible and how easy it is, and what the financial benefits would be, what the health benefits would be, what the economic benefits would be, what the climate benefits, biodiversity. We could fill room upon room upon room with those reports. What we lack is political power, political leverage, and the only way that we're going to get that political leverage is if we have a global climate justice movement all around the world acting together, putting pressure on their leaders to ensure that they act in their wishes and not the wishes of some of the very narrow financial and economic interests which have hampered so much of the climate talk so far.
I think we're seeing the impact climate change is having on people's life. This is about our survival. This is about our prosperity. This is about the future for all of us, but also for the future generations. Our lives and our future and our prosperity depends on the outcome of the climate negotiations.